All right. Welcome to episode 2. Why rest feels illegal. If you're anything like me, um, why rest feels illegal. Have you ever gotten time to just rest and then spent the entire time feeling guilty about resting? A couple days ago, I finished everything I needed to do for the day. I'm talking kitchen, trash was out, laundry, floors, beds, everything. The work was done and the house was quiet. And so I finally got some time to sit down because nothing was urgent anymore. And once I had done that for the first time in weeks, I actually had permission. I gave myself permission to kind of relax, not try to run 1,000 miles an hour. So I sat down on the couch, and what I noticed is that within 30 seconds, I was starting to feel a little guilty. I missed something. I didn't get something done that I needed to. So within about 30 seconds, I reached for my phone. And not because I needed anything, not because somebody called. Honestly, it was just because I was looking for the next thing to check off my to-do list. And, basically doing nothing felt uncomfortable. Okay. Doing nothing felt strange. And that really bothered me. Not sure if any of that resonates with you, but it got me thinking, like, why was rest like so difficult when it was finally available? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something I think pretty valuable. I don't think that like most people struggle with rest. Um, for me, I think it's most people, they struggle with what rest will say about them, right? It's the struggle of, looking at your identity. And when, like, I know for me personally, when my identity became tied to output, rest started to feel like I was failing at something or I was missing something. And historically, the cycle was pretty simple, right? You go to work, right? You get up, go to work, and then you rest. It was pretty simple. Like, you go to work and then you rest, and then you recover, and then the cycle will kind of end up repeating itself, right? So work, rest, recovery, work again. And it's all just like a nice, even cycle. And the human system was built around periods of short effort followed by periods of restoration. So you have effort and then rest, right? You do the thing and then you actually recover. Now today that cycle looks a lot different, right? It's work, screen, or check emails or messages or Slack or whatever, and then content, right? So work, screen, content, so you're consuming, and then you're scrolling, right? So work, screen, content, scrolling, and then more stimulation, and sleep. And usually, if you're anything like me, now I've been trying. I've been actually trying to get the required sleep and having a nice shutdown procedure for sleep. But usually it's not enough. Like, we're just not really resting anymore. We've just replaced one form of activity with another. And it's hard. It's nights can be challenging. That's why I developed a nighttime routine to help me shut down. Because the body may stop working, but with the addition to all these tools that we have, the mind rarely shuts down. Now I know the brain is always working and always doing something, but for the added stimulation that we've added, I think that's where the problem really begins. So at some point, many people stop asking, like, what did I accomplish today? Right? You look at, like, what did I actually get done? And then you start asking, like, how much more can I fit into the day? Or what am I worth today? Like, did I get enough done? Did I do enough? And I think those are very dangerous assumptions to have. So those two become connected, right? What am I worth today? And did I do enough? They become connected. Like, you got like job titles, income, achievements. Um, you stack off the to-do list, you got, promotions. And I think it's just, you start looking at content and followers. So you got all these things like swimming around. You got KPIs and performance metrics, and the brain is just constantly on a loop of stimulation because most people, if you're anything like me, output becomes evidence of value. And as I said previously, I think that's really dangerous because once productivity becomes your whole identity, rest can become threatening. And if the production stops, the mind starts asking uncomfortable questions that I think nowadays a lot of us are not really comfortable in that silence. Like, am I doing enough? Like, am I falling behind? Is there more I should be doing? And then that loop for the brain just keeps spinning. And I mean, if it's anything like mine, it's like a flywheel. It's just the questions keep happening. It's like, should I be working on something? Have I earned this break? And I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's hard for me. Like it's tough. I'm very action oriented. So I struggle with this, which is why it's something I'm talking about now. Even when I know I should recover, there's a voice in the back of my head that's always asking, is there something else that I should be doing? Is there more I could be doing? Should I record more videos? Should I write more? Should I clean the house more? And the answer is that there's always going to be something more to do. I mean, that's just what I've learned. And, it's probably not, probably shouldn't have taken this long, but it did. But there's always something else that you should be moving forward, like some piece of your life that you need to, run the ball towards the goal. So rest, at least for me, for a long time, stopped feeling restorative, and it started feeling irresponsible, like I was wasting time and not packing enough into the day. And I think like a big part of this comes from all these open loops that we have. Okay. Now, when I say open loops, I'm really talking about all the unfinished tasks that we have left on our plate and all the conversations that still need to happen. And they kind of stay trapped up in the brain, just taking up real estate without paying any rent. The projects that are sitting at 80% complete, or the book project. And part of it, I think, comes from comparison. Someone is always doing more, building it faster, building it better, posting more than you are. And I mean, I always come back to comparison is the thief of joy. It really is. Like earning more, achieving more, being more. And honestly, that comparison, it gets so exhausting. Like it's so exhausting. But I found that part of it comes from like scarcity, right? You're feeling that there just isn't enough time, right? You're running out of time. And again, dangerous thoughts, right? Not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunity. Maybe you're not good enough. And struggling with these, it's hard because at the end of the day, you're stuck up here with yourself, like alone. So underneath all of it is a belief that many people really don't say out loud. Is like, I'm valuable when I'm producing. And once that belief takes hold, rest becomes difficult because it really feels like you're stepping away from the thing that proves your worth. So all of a sudden, and I'm guilty of this all the time, I step away from being productive, and all of a sudden my brain just ratchets up the thoughts that you're just not good enough or doing enough. And so I think one of the defining mistakes of modern life is treating humans like we're software, right? Machines optimize and maximize uptime, and machines don't need emotional recovery or even emotional regulation, right? They just go and they execute. So the thing about it is that machines don't need meaning, humans do. Yet many of us expect ourselves to operate like systems designed for continuous output, and the result is predictable. So the more we try to function like machines, the more exhausted we become. And here's the distinction that changed how I think about all this. Most people think the relationship looks like this: work versus rest. but reality looks more like work, recovery, better work, and better recovery. So rest isn't the enemy of productivity, it's just one of the inputs. Recovery improves attention, recovery improves creativity, and recovery improves decision quality and performance. And the refusal to rest often damages the very performance people are trying to protect and maintain. Now, I've noticed something else. Rest feels more illegal during rebuilding seasons. When you're trying to recover financially or rebuild a career or repair relationships with loved ones or create stability for your family or simply put your life back together after things didn't go according to plan. Everything feels urgent, and I know this because I've lived it. Every problem feels like a fire, and every hour feels like it should be spent moving something forward. And I've lived through seasons like that. And during those seasons, rest doesn't feel restorative. It feels irresponsible and challenging. And not because people don't understand the value of recovery, but because they're afraid of what happens if they slow down, right? The bills never stop. The responsibilities don't stop. The uncertainty doesn't stop. So the mind begins treating every moment of stillness as a threat to progress and then as a threat to identity. But here's the irony. Rebuilding seasons often demand better decisions, not more effort. And they also require recovery. So when everything feels like an emergency, exhaustion starts masquerading as discipline. But you cannot rebuild effectively from a state of perpetual exhaustion, especially like eventually the bill comes due. And that's the real cost is burnout, resentment, poor decision qualities, reduced creativity and relationship strain, and mental fatigue. Now, one thing I've noticed over and over again is that decision quality often declines before performance does. People keep producing, they keep showing up, they keep checking the boxes, but the quality of their thinking starts to deteriorate. And the damage is happening long before anybody even notices. Which this brings me to the real question, right? This really isn't about rest, just like mental fragmentation wasn't really about email. Okay, it's about identity. So what happens when a person's value becomes dependent on constant output? Because if your worth depends entirely on what you produce, you'll never feel like you've done enough to deserve rest. There will always be one more task, one more goal, one more improvement, and one more reason to keep moving. So the goal isn't to earn rest. The goal is to recognize that rest was never something you had to earn in the first place. Now, the question isn't whether you've earned the right to rest. It's looking at it from whether you're going to give yourself that permission to recover. All right. So these are just some of my thoughts on why rest seems to feel illegal from just stuff I've lived kind of day to day lately. And if you liked the episode, subscribe and like, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for listening.